I bear witness that there is none worthy of our worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the seal of the prophets and the final messenger to all of humanity. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, there is none to misguide. And whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves astray, there is none to guide aright. Amma ba'd, over the last few weeks we were talking about things that we can learn from children. If we ever want to improve our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our relationship with the people, we should learn something from their kids. Sincerity, being logical. When you make dua, you cry to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just like kids pray, cry to their parents to get what they want. So we mentioned that there are so many things we can learn from kids. This month, inshallah, is dedicated to learning from animals. I know this is shocking to some of you, but this is the learning from the animals month. We as human beings, sometimes we need to humble ourselves. Tawadu. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the Quran, Siru fil ardi thumma anzuru, walk in the land and learn, and look and reflect and learn. So one thing we need to realize, because sometimes we feel like, oh, mashallah, we are everything, we're the center of the universe, we are the most intelligent there is, and so on and so forth. So sometimes we need to humble ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to understand that we are the babies of planet Earth. So all these squirrels you see in your backyard, all the lizards, the spiders, and the mosquitoes, and so on and so forth, they existed probably billions, if not, and millions of years before us. We are probably the last addition to this world. And for thousands of years we have been learning from animals and birds and fish and so on and so forth. And I'm going to give you some examples. And subhanAllah, when you look at the Quran, you will be blown away by the number of things we learn from animals and so on and so forth. One of the first lessons I learned in the village, I'm a farmer in a small village. I was born in the village in Egypt. And for 20 years, I was in the farm. I was, working with my family as a farmer and so on and so forth, and dealing with animals. And believe me, I learned so much from them. So the first lesson is how to make a feasibility study. Darasat Gadwa. I learned this from a donkey in the village. This is amazing. So how it worked, at the age of 7, I was working. I take the donkey from the house to the farm. I carry stuff on the back of the donkey, cement and fertilizers or basim, some food for the animals, back and forth. I go to the farm and the house and so on and so forth. So on the way there was a big channel, and I ate mine, right? So there was a big channel that we have to cross. So I remember I tried to force the donkey to cross this channel of water. So what the donkey did, if you try to cross the channel with al-qanah, with the donkey and the stuff on its back, so what happens, the donkey will go 2 steps to the back and will look at the channel and make some calculations. If it is doable, jumpable, the animal will come forward and it will jump. If it is not doable, even if you shoot the animal, you kill the animal, it will never jump. So one day the load was heavy, the channel was big, and I tried to force the animal to jump. It went a little bit to the back, did the calculations. It is not doable, the animal didn't do it. Then I said, I will show you. I just jumped, and I landed in the middle of the water, and I was drowning. And I saw this big smile on the face of the donkey. Told you, it's not doable. So I learned before I jump, I have to make some homework to see if it is doable or not. The pros and the cons. And this is something I learned from the animal. And we as human beings, even without realizing it, sometimes we forget, we have learned so much from animals and birds and stuff. How did we learn to build dams? From beavers. Building tunnels. If you go to Mecca and you see the tunnels around the house, how did we learn to build tunnels? From animals. And storing our food from the ants and from other animals. And subhanAllah, the ants, they take the seeds and they take the stuff like wheat and corn and stuff. and they do surgeries on the seeds. They remove some of the stuff inside so it doesn't germinate if water comes or rain comes. So it doesn't grow as a plant in the storage. So they remove the thing from inside. How did they learn to do this? And we learn from them. Storing the food and so on and so forth. Diving. How did we learn to dive? From fish. How did we learn to fly? From birds. How did we build helicopters and choppers? From the dragonfly. The scientists will tell you. We learn from them, right? How did we learn to bury our dead? دفن الموتى. From الغراب, the crow. في سورة المائدة فبعث الله غرابا يبحث في الأرض ليريه كيف يواري سوءة أخيه. This is how humanity learned how to bury the dead. In the story of the two children of Adam in Surah 5, Surah Ma'idah, one of them killed the other. He didn't know how to hide the evidence of the crime. So he looked around and Allah sent the crow to show him how to bury his brother. Right? So we have been learning from animals and birds and for thousands of years. And subhanAllah, we learn materialistic things. And when it comes to spirituality, there is a lot to learn from them. Because we know, as human beings, you know, we have to try to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look around and learn. Because animals and birds and insects, by default, they're Muslim, they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was telling the students the other day, yes, we are not allowed to eat the pork. We're not allowed to eat pork, but we are not allowed to abuse the pig because it's a creation of Allah, and a pig, to their astonishment, is a believer. By default, a pig is doing what a pig is supposed to do. They worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by default. Compared to a lot of human beings, because they think they are smart and intelligent, they don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you think, I have never seen, and it has never been reported, that an animal or a bird or an insect would worship another animal or bird or insect. We have never seen animals or birds or insects create a sanam, an idol, and make sajda to it. A lot of humans have done it. We make sajda to idols, statues. We worship other human beings, Isa, Buddha, and so on and so forth. And some people worship animals. They make sajda to animals. And some people, they make sajda to shaitan. If you read about the Church of the Devil in the US, they make sajda to shaitan. Animals would never do the same thing. They would never do the same thing. They humble themselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They know that He is their creator. And they know that He is their provider. There's so many examples in the Quran, and subhanAllah, in the story of Nuh alayhi salam in Surah Hud, when Nuh alayhi salam said to the people around him, flood is coming, go on board of the ship, let's save you. They said, you think we're stupid? You are building a ship in the middle of the desert? We're not stupid, we're not going on board. He told the animals, let's go, and they said, okay, let's go, Jaldi, let's go on top, let's save ourselves in the middle of the desert. So what happened? People were drowned, and the animals were saved. Even the son of Nuh, alayhi salam, he told his son, join me. He said, no, I'm not going. There is no water in the desert. But the animals and the birds, okay, let's go. Chalo, chalo, let's go. And they were saved. SubhanAllah, there are so many examples. And you know what? When I say that, you know, we think about how animals live and what we should learn from them, sometimes, wallahi, we give animals a bad name. When we compare ourselves to them, they are ashamed of us sometimes. Like when you tell someone, you're a dog. The dog is one of the most loyal things in this world. Do you think a dog will betray its friend? We always stab our friends in the back all the time. We steal their money, we backbite them, we sell them out, you know, and so on and so forth. A dog will never do this to their friend. They will die defending their friends. Also, go to any store. Go to Walmart, go to Freshco, go to Best Buy, any store. And just go to the honey section in the store. And it says, mashallah, in big fonts, pure honey, 100%. It's a lie. It doesn't have any honey at all. Zero honey. And any brother, sincere brother, honest brother who works in the field of making honey, they tell you, according to government laws, if the honey has 5% or less honey, it is treated as 100% honey, right? So basically, 95% of what you see in this thing is cornstarch, artificial flavors, artificial color, and we give bees a bad name. How did the bee do this? 95% is not honey. No, it's from us. The bees, they give us 100% honey. And actually the scholars say, for a bee to make 1 kilogram of honey, the bee will fly 400,000 kilometers for 1 kilogram of honey. So what we do, we take it, 95% cornstarch, artificial flavors, artificial color. We give bees a bad name, right? And I was thinking the other day about another example. You know, I watch National Geographic and BBC World and learn from animals. There's so much you can learn from them. Compared to if you watch the parliament or you watch if you watch the news, you will lose your faith in humanity. But subhanAllah, if you watch the animal world, you will restore your faith in the creation of Allah. Animals and birds and insects will lay down their life to protect their young. Just go to any lion and try to take the cubs. Or go to a crocodile and try to take their eggs. Or anything. They will give you a hard time. They will die defending their young. The other day I was reading some statistics out of the US. 50 kids die every year because their parents intentionally leave them in the van in the heat and they go shopping. I don't know what to say. I'm really ashamed. I don't know what to say. They leave their kids to boil to death, 80 degrees, 100 degrees in the van, and they go and because there is, shampoo is on sale or, clinics is on sale, they leave their kids behind and they go and they do some shopping to save like $1 or $2. Animals will never do this. So there's something we can learn from them, right? And subhanAllah, as I said, when it comes to spirituality, there's so many things we can learn from them. And there is this ayah in the Quran. Every time I read this ayah, Surah Hajj, ayah number 18. I want you to go and read this ayah and read the tafsir of the ayah. I feel terrible every time I read the ayah. It's like a stab in the heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to us how, the creation of Allah submits to Him, and He compares us to the rest of the creation, including animals, and we look bad. So the ayah says, and I'll give the tarjama at the end, أَلَمْ تَرَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَسْجُدُ لَهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَالشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ وَالنُّجُومُ وَالْجِبَالُ وَالشَّجَرُ وَالدَّوَابُّ وَكَثِيرٌ مِّنَ النَّاسِ وكثير حق عليه العذاب ومن يهن الله فما له من مكرم إن الله يفعل ما يشاء. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, look around and you will see the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is submitting themselves to His will. This includes the sun and the moon, the stars, the trees, everything. And Allah said, all of the animal kingdom, they submit themselves to Allah. Many humans do, many humans don't. And they deserve punishment. And whoever Allah puts to shame, no one can honor. Indeed, Allah does what He wills. So Allah is saying us, 100% of animals in the animal kingdom, the birds and the insects and all the animals and the insects you crush with your feet or you drive over with your car because you have no respect for them, they worship Allah by default. And Allah says, many humans worship me, and He said, many turn their back on me because they think they're smart, they're intelligent. So again, this is another example, we look bad. I will give you a couple of quick examples in the last 5 minutes in the khutbah, then we'll continue next time, inshallah. There is the example of the hippo in Surah Naml. We're talking about spirituality here and guiding people to the way of Allah. The hippo in Hudhud in Surah 27, Do you know the reason why the people of Yemen became Muslim at the time of Sulaiman alayhi salam is because of the bird. Everyone knows the story, but sometimes we fail to make the connection. So the bird, some people making sajda to the sun and the queen, and the bird came and reported to Sulaiman alayhi salam, he made da'wah to them, and they became Muslim. And now I think of all the people who take shahada and leave Islam because of a Muslim. Some Muslim was not acting Islamically. I'll give you one example. It's a story that happened with me. I was in Edmonton. This brother was visiting from Fort McMurray. They call it Fort McMoney. So the brother was coming to visit Edmonton. He came to my office in the masjid and he came, I said, how are you doing? Aap kaise hai? I said, okay, my name is Mustafa. What's your name? He said, I'm an idiot. I said, okay. Why are you saying this? He said, a few months ago, this guy, non-Muslim, came to the camp in Fort McMurray and he stayed with us. We gave him Quran and Seerah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He read, he was so impressed, he took Shahada. Then over the next 2 to 3 months, people were confusing him. Someone would tell you have to eat zabiha halal. Another guy would say, no, you don't have to. Someone said, you have to grow your beard. The other one said, no, you don't have to. Someone said you have to dress like this. The other one said, no, you don't have to. So after 3 months, they confused the heck out of him and the guy left. He said, you guys are confused. You are turning my life into a living hell. I can't stay like this, I'm confused. And the guy left. Then the guy who came to my office said, okay, what am I? I said, you are an idiot. 100%, there's no question, right? The example is so many. Another example, we'll do it very quickly, inshallah. The ant in the story in Surah 27, Surah Nam, the ant, when the ant saw the army of Sulaiman alayhi salam coming, the ant said, Ya ayyuhan namlu idkhulu masakinakum. So the ant saved the ant colony to the surprise and the astonishment of Sulaiman alayhi salam, and he told his soldiers to stay away from the colony because the ant was trying to protect the colony from the army of Sulaiman. لا يحتمنكم سليمان وجنودهم لا يشعرون. Compare this to Surah 7. A human being intentionally left his people to be destroyed. He knew they were going to be destroyed and he let them. He let them down. So in Yemen, in the story of Saba, in Surah Saba, Amr ibn Amir, he was a man living in Saba at the time, and they had the dam so they can control the water and water the fields and so on and so forth. One day he was passing by the dam on the mountains. He felt like the dam was going to be destroyed. The water was coming down and he felt like there were cracks and stuff. He ran fast to his kids and he told them, the dam is about to be destroyed. Let's get out of here, take as much money we can. And they said, what about the people? He said, don't worry about them. They're qadar, khalas, let's go. He told his youngest son, when we were at the gathering with the people, Amr ibn Amir, he told his son at the gathering, and Nadi, I'm going to ask you to give me some food, some tea, some biryani, some burger, something, and tell me I'm not going to give you. When I raise my voice, come and slap me on the face, across the face. On the face. And this is exactly what happened. Pass me the food or the drink. He said no. He raised his voice. Inta mu'addab, inta ghair mu'addab, inta alil al-adab. He raised his voice to his son. His son came and he slapped him on the face. So the father became so angry and he said, Wallahi, I'm not staying in this land where I've been disrespected by my son. I'm going to kill him. The people said, no, don't kill him. He said, khalas, because you are protecting my son, I'm going to sell my house, I'm going to sell my land, and leave this land, I'm going to leave. So they gave him all the money they had so they can buy his farms and his palace and everything. He took all the money and he left with his family, including his son. He hugged his son at home, he kissed him, you were so nice today. I will give you the Oscars for this nice slap you gave me. They left at night. They took all the money, everything, and in the morning the people didn't find him, and they said maybe his son felt sorry and he laughed, and miskin, poor guy. And after a few days, the dam was destroyed, everyone was killed. Compare this to the attitude of the ant. It's totally different, subhanAllah. Sometimes I feel ashamed. There's so many other stories we can find in the Quran similar to this. And we'll continue next time, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the best in this life and the best in the life to come. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله ربه رحمة للعالمين. So the reason I'm talking about this, we need to humble ourselves as human beings. We have learned to fly like birds, we learned to dive like fish and dolphins, and we learn to build dams. And I think it's about time that we learn how to live as human beings. And I think this is so important. We are not acting as we are supposed to do. Animals and birds and so on and so forth, when a bear attacks a moose or a lion attacks a zebra, they are doing what an animal is supposed to do. They are just living their animal life. But we as human beings, when people kill one another in Syria, in Ghouta, in Yemen, in Libya, in Iraq, in Egypt, we are not supposed to do this. We are supposed to live as human beings with compassion and mercy in our hearts, to care for one another, just like the animals care for one another. So there's so much we can learn from them. And sometimes, as I said, we feel arrogant because we're smart, and we say, these are stupid animals, what can we learn from them? And Allah is telling us in the Quran, even the Sahaba, I'll give this example next time. The Sahaba are told to learn from animals so they can have a better relationship with Allah and they can have tawakkul. And this is an amazing story. There are so many other stories we can learn from animals. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the best in this life and the best in the life to come. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us hikmah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawakkul, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have faith in Him. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for our brothers and sisters in Ghouta, in Syria. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect them. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for them. اللهم آمن خائفهم وأطعم جائعهم اللهم أكس عراياهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم اشف مرضاهم وتقبل موتاهم بالشهداء. اللهم عليك بمن ظلم المسلمين يا رب العالمين. وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وأقم الصلاة.